Anybody has a water buffalo? Mine is faster, yours is slow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TTV Modcast, episode 25.
Woohoo! Because Kina.
Oh,
No.
Right.
We're starting off
man.
strong.
Yeah,
Anyway, speaking of Kina, who are we?
I'm Lodge.
I'm Kaiser Florbenheimer.
I'm Woohoo, aka Slime.
I'm Lego Master.
I'm Indy.
And, whoa, we're actually doing this. We've gotten to this point, the supposed end of our Bionicle infinology, which, now that I'm saying it, it'll never end.
The supposed
Yeah.
end of our infinology. That's like an oxymoron.
Yeah, it is an oxymoron. We planned this episode since episode 11, and it was supposed to be part of a trilogy, and this one was supposed to be the last episode of that trilogy, but then it ended up being a 9-part series. But here we are, going to try and top off our last year-by-year discussion of Bionicle G1.
It has been year by year, more of series by series,
Series by... okay.
brick by brick. How Lego rewrote the rules of
No.
animation and conquered the global toy industry.
Today, we're talking about 09 and 010, or 010? 10.
010. I mean, technically it is 010 to 010, but
Yeah, I guess so. That was the dawn of the Glatorian and Bara Magna.
The soft reboot, if you will.
And then the next year was cancelled. But there were a lot of things that were pretty interesting about 09 in particular. The sets that we got. The Glatorian. I remember back in 09, I made it my mission to actually get all of the Winter Wave. So I got all of the Glatorian, the Agori, Tuma, and Fear and Skirmix. I think the thing I liked about them a lot was the game aspect. It actually just made a lot of sense to me. It's just like, you have these Lego action figures, and, you know, they got weapons. It's like, you can make a game out of it, and they have hit points. For those that don't know, these sets had a gear piece that basically acted like a dial, and each knob of the gear had like a number on it, and that would denote your health. I think there was a skull for when you died.
I felt more inclined to buy all the 2009 sets because they all had differing pieces and color schemes, and like they all felt different to me, even though they had the same build.
And even then, they didn't all have the exact same build. Like, you look at torso build for, like, Skrull versus Strap versus Gresh. Like, yeah, some of them are really basic. Gresh, cough. But even then, you know, like,
Not
Gresh has
even.
got, like, the whole shoulder thing going
Yeah.
on. And, you know, he's got the whole shoulder thing going on.
That's it.
And
He's got like a spiky head. I mean, that's something. Oh yeah, they had helmets instead of masks. That was the thing.
That's something.
ooh,
It's
that's
okay though. You may think that Grush's build sucked, but I think they definitely revamped him for 2010. I think they really stepped it up.
Oh my gosh.
There's that one piece that's like an L shape that has pins coming out of it. It was sort of a transformation of the Inika build, almost. Like the lower torso and the upper Inika, or the lower torso? I mean, you know, the leg piece. Even like the Metru had as well.
are you talking about with Strack, the piece that connects his torso to his hip piece? That piece was introduced in 2008 because they had the whole connect the Matoran to the one that looks exactly like them gimmick.
There was no connection to the Agori gimmick for this year, but I like how they used that to give the sort of hunchback look for both Strack and Skrull. Also, one thing that was super cool about 2009, which I thought was just amazing back as a kid, was the fist pieces.
The fist. Love the fist.
Fists were pretty cool. I remember actually back in 2009, that was when I got to Canada, and I remember actually that was when I started making stop motions, and I think one of the stop motions is still on my channel is the Strack versus Akar fight. And I think the fists really added a lot to if you're making a fight scene. It's like they actually have weight to the punches.
I haven't watched The Legend Reborn in a very long time. And by a long time, I mean like a couple years. I remember when it first debuted on Nickelodeon, I was counting down the days to that event. I watched it. I loved it. I watched it when it came on to TV again a few weeks later. I then proceeded to buy the DVD when it came out, along with a set that I was very excited to watch for and was very excited with in the movie, Barracks, everyone's favorite character. And everyone's favorite set as well, because I mean, it's just a flawless set, it's flawless character, it's
He's got some
all
cool
around
pieces.
just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, he has like
That's
the
just-
trans,
yeah.
not the trans, the light blue otaku sword. That's like really, really cool.
He's got decent parts to him. I mean, half of them are completely unusable because they all crack, but you know, hey. And by half, I mean, let's see, how many parts does he has? He has 15 parts.
15 parts.
That is sad.
I'm going to count how many of them are going to snap because they're made of terrible plastic. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of those 15 parts are completely unusable.
You're being a little bit harsh there because of the Mata feet, which are in a really cool new color, and the Glatorian heads aren't
Well,
that.
yeah. I'm not saying that they're bad. I mean, they're great recolors, except for the arms. But like, I'm saying they're unusable in that they literally will snap.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fairly sure all of my Barracks' parts have completely broken by this point, just because the plastic, like in 2008 and to some degree 2007, was just not good. So that's nothing against the set itself. It's more just the parts were just not really usable. But yeah, Barracks. He's voiced by James Arnold Taylor in the movie. I was
Yay.
super excited for that
Yeah.
because I love James Arnold Taylor.
I don't know who that is, actually.
He's the voice of Johnny Test,
Oh.
Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars.
Ratchet,
What else
right?
has he done?
Isn't he Ratchet? in
Ratchet from
and
Ratchet and Clank. He's also been in Batman the Brave and the Bold as Green Arrow and Guy Gardner. Lots of other stuff as well.
Alright, I mean, I've played Ratchet and Clank, so yeah, I can recognize that. Just hearing you describe your thing with Legend Reborn slime, it just reminds me of, like, I had a similar thing, is that, although I think I might have pirated it, but I did buy it later on DVD, I still have it, and the thing about it is that when I got it from, like, Walmart or something, I don't know, it had this sticker that was like, oh, you can get $5 off a Lego set. I guess it was any Lego set over $25. So I actually didn't use that sticker until like months later. I don't know like how this even happened, but it's like I stuck it to the back of the car. I was like, whenever we go to Walmart, I'd be contemplating, should I unstick it? Is this the day that I get a set? And I eventually did get the best vehicle set, Baroness V9, for $5 off, which was nothing, because it's like, that was basically the tax that you have to pay.
Oh, that thing, yeah, the chariot. I thought it looked kind of cool. I actually have parts from that set, and it's a neat looking set. Like, it feels like it fits within that universe.
I suppose the thing about Bara Magna, especially, is that it's kind of like ancient Rome in a way. It's like you got arenas, like battle arenas, as like the whole chariot thing really works.
Very gladiator, the name Glatorian.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I think we can all agree, though, the best Glatorian of all time, Perditus, man.
Perditus, yeah.
Who?
Perditus.
Perditus.
Yeah, everyone's favorite Glatorian.
He's the best villain.
He's the best villain / hero in all of Bionicle Land.
True.
What did he even do?
He had no story relevance. He was one of the... I'm blanking. Why am I blanking?
He drove
was one of the vehicle
Thornatus.
sets. One of the vehicle
Yeah,
sets.
he drove
yeah.
the Thornatus V9, which had like a completely different rule in Legend Reborn. I remember that. The thing about Perditus, and pretty much all of the other vehicle drivers is that they just felt incredibly generic because A, they used pretty much the exact same mask. Like, I know it was a flippable mask, but it was just really generic looking to me. And also, they just weren't in the story at all, were they? Like, almost none of the drivers, like the two Agori in like the sidecar vehicle.
Oh,
what was
dude.
that called?
Yeah. I
Yeah, the
always
Chaosium.
wanted the Chaosium.
Yeah, it's a cool looking set, but what did it even do in the story?
Nothing.
Okay, and that's another thing, is that like one of my big problems with the vehicles is that they were pitched as this kind of like vehicle battle thing where like the vehicles could battle in the arena, and I'm like, how does that work? The chariot I can see, if they had like a couple of different chariots driven by like different Rahi, that would be cool. But they had such different different vehicles that would have been cool for like getting around Bara Magna, but arena fights? Like, no.
Haven't you ever seen Rocket League?
That's the game where like you're on these almost RC looking cars.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is that the vehicles to me don't really make sense in a post-apocalyptic wasteland setting. Like, are they powered by gas? Are they powered by like energy crystals?
That's not important.
But then at the same time, there's also dinosaurs. You got Skirmix.
Is Skirmix a dinosaur?
Skirmix the chicken. Chicken horse.
You know, it's like chickens or dinosaurs or something.
Yeah, they're related, but like I never thought of Skirmix as a dinosaur. I just thought he was like a Rocky.
He's totally a T-Rex.
Yeah, he is. Looking at it now, he totally is.
A T-Rex that makes horse
He's such a
sounds.
T-Rex, yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. That was like the movie was ever really explained except for like that one brief cameo where they get crushed in Legend Reborn. Do they have any part in the story?
Okay, so like I have Radon Volcanus on my right, and Furon Skirmix is the main artwork, like just ripped from the box art. Actually, I just opened it, and the first line is literally like, Firo reined Skirmix to a halt and scanned the horizon, so I guess Firo has some sort of presence, and he's important. I don't know. Skirmix is there. He makes noises.
Where does it end, Waj? Does it end with the Skrull and the Bone Hunters basically like kind of attacking the arena? Is that where it ends?
I'm looking at the end. It's like, I think it's around the point where Akar and Strack are fighting, and I guess Matnui intervenes, and it sort of ends there.
Okay.
So Strack, so much potential for a character.
Oh my gosh, yes. The thing that really irks me about Legend Reborn, and I know we can harp on like the characters and the voice acting and all that stuff, but like the biggest thing for me is that it seems so incredibly disconnected from the first part of O9's story. The Glatorian fighting in the arena and kind of this alliance between Gresh and who's the newbie and Terex and Strack, and then eventually, yeah, like you've got Malum doing his own thing, and then at one point,
Hey, guys, Malum was in Legend Reborn, okay? He was there.
as like
Oh,
a
yeah.
shadow or whatever.
No.
A collection of click beetles.
It's obvious that the Click Beetles made themselves together in the image of the best Glatorian of all time.
I don't even want to think about how it makes sense story-wise. Like, but do you guys understand what I mean in the sense that like Legend Reborn doesn't at all continue the story and especially the tone of where O9 was going?
Yeah, that's really true. The way I remember it, I'm a little bit rusty on 2009. It has been 7 years now.
Oh my gosh, it's been 7 years?
Holy crap.
That's so old. Who was the main character before The Legend Reborn came out? Was it kind of Gresh, but also kind of
It
really?
depends on what story medium you were looking
It
at.
was Gresh, definitely.
Gresh was the poster boy, that's for sure. Like, literally, he was the main front guy on all the posters.
Yeah. So I don't know, whoever the protagonist was in the first half was not the protagonist in the second half. It just immediately makes the switch over to Mott Nui, and then like if you're a character that was introduced in the first half, hey, congrats to you. But like if you're, you know, I don't know, I was going to make a point, but then I realized that I think all of the Glatorian from the first half minus Malum were mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, Gresh was, but
But
apart
yeah,
from
it's
that,
like all of them kind of get downgraded a lot.
Technically, the only Glatorian that isn't mentioned at all is poor Gelu. Gelu is the only one.
Poor
Well,
Gelu.
You know, what really bothers me is that it feels like some of the characters were downplayed so much in there. And some of the
What?
characters just felt kind of useless in there.
like who?
Like everyone, because Mott Nui
Remember what
can
happened
do
with
literally
Strack?
anything.
Yeah.
He becomes a bad guy for some reason. At least that's what it seems like.
Who struck?
Yeah.
He was more just a Glatorian who didn't really respect the arena rules. He was kind of ultimately just a sore loser. Like, he didn't respect the arena kind of code. And he didn't necessarily have like ill will towards the characters and tried to like make up this huge plot to, you know, ensnare them like Metis did, right? But Metis being the main villain of Legend Reborn, how did you guys feel about that?
I feel like
That was
I
fine.
can sum up my thoughts on that in 2 words. I'm Metis.
Oh my god.
That was fine with him being the bad guy. That was a nice twist when I was young. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of
Yeah,
like an
but-
Agori Matorian character being the bad guy, that was, I mean, we had gotten that before with
Cough,
whatever
cough,
that.
Akmo, cough, cough.
Yeah, but Akmal
True.
starts off shady anyway. You
Yeah.
kind of suspect him being the bad guy.
Well, okay, Metis just pulls up in the middle of nowhere in the desert.
All I remember is he turns into a snake at some point. Matnui grabs him, turns him, I don't know.
Yeah, Matnui uses his. It's like one
Does
of the
anyone
few.
on the Mask of Live's actual canon powers?
I feel like it should be, because the actual powers that the Mask of Life has, to me at least, it seems like the way it was originally described is like he can basically screw with Bionicle characters' internal biological clock, sort of in the way that he can basically make them a lot older or a lot younger, or he can evolve them in either way, like he did with Icarax. But I just think that it makes some sense that he'd be able to change a life form from one thing to another with the Mask of Life, because it is a legendary mask after all, right? It's supposed to be ridiculously powerful.
Yeah.
Speaking of an OP mask that we finally got in like official, well, not we finally did, but we actually got it in set form in 2 ways. It was silver in '08, but that didn't really count, I feel.
The actual Glatorian Legends Matanui set, I mean, that was like, it's not the Ignika we came to know, but when the Toa Matanui set came out, I was in England, I think, at the time, and I went to like, I don't know. It was an exclusive somewhere, I think. I just saw it and I was like, I need it. It was so cool.
Do you still think it's so cool?
I mean, I dismantled it, but I had never seen a set that had articulation in the fingers like that. I mean,
But Hydraxon.
I never got.
Axon.
I had never gotten Hydraxon. Well, I mean, like the fact that you can actually bend the fingers. It's like you can't do that with Axon exactly or at all. I mean, like, the pieces are static. So that I found pretty cool, like those pieces in particular. And the fact that it was a really big set. It was incredibly tall. But basically, I just liked the fact that it had the original, like, golden Ignika mask.
Oh,
Like that.
yes.
That was the best part of the set.
I want that mask so bad.
I'll be honest, I never really had any particular favor towards that set, aka I think it's trash.
It's not the
I'm
greatest.
looking at it right now. It's got gappy, floppy upper arms. It's
Do you
got-
own it?
Oh no, I'm looking at a picture right now.
How do you know if they're floppy?
Just based upon the construction.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, from when I had it, it was kinda floppy.
Back in 2009, I had a friend who
You had a friend?
I had a friend who lived nearby somewhat, and he was a fan of Bionicle, and I think he was on BZP, I don't know. Somehow he discovered that there were 2009 leaks. He shared this image with me, and I thought that was really, really cool. Seeing those for the first time, I was like, oh dude, we're gonna get a Matanui set! It's gonna be great! It's Matanui! He's literally like God! And he's $10. As far as the sets themselves go, I actually only ever got one Glatorian Legend. That was a car, and that was in 2012.
I own all the Glatorian Legends because I still argue to this day that they're all really, really good sets.
Yeah, I think they're really nicely done. My biggest problem with any of them is pretty much Matanui himself, in that he doesn't have an offensive weapon.
I mean, he has the Thornax.
I don't really
launcher.
consider that a main offensive weapon. I don't consider the launchers
Why do
a
you
main
need
weapon.
an offensive weapon to do anything? Captain America's a shield. You have a problem with that?
Yeah, but Matanui can't throw that shield. That is like the least
How do you
throwable
know?
shield ever.
Have you ever
Because,
seen him
like,
throw it?
Physics.
Yeah.
You stab people.
Maybe that's the
with a
point.
thing.
He's someone who doesn't need to fight because he's a good guy.
I guess. The thing that irks me is that they actually fixed that in Legend Reborn with a piece that doesn't exist.
Matanui is fighting the Vorox, and then he breaks off his tail and uses that as the sword.
Yep.
I mean, I guess that's...
That's not the piece that's used for Matanui's sword. People have made all sorts of different mock versions of it, but it's one of those things that like you'd expect the designers to have made in the prototype phase, where they're just like cutting and gluing existing pieces together. That's what Matanui's sword in Legend Reborn really looks like. Of course, the bottom part is a piece from his shield, but the top part kind of looks like maybe I've seen people try to use Vizirac pincers to emulate it. All sorts of different things. It's just not a piece that exists. The movie version, I can totally see it. It looks like a Vizirac pincer to me.
I think it works better, the fact that he just has a shield and not a sword.
He's like Captain America.
Yeah, exactly.
But he does have a sword. Like in the story, he does have a sword. And so it just feels to me like Lego gave us basically the biggest piece of marketing in '09. And you can't even recreate the main character fully with any of the sets, with any like Lego pieces, period.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? Mokuda.
Reminds me of G2 Makuta, am I right?
Rage!
That's right, I went there.
With one big difference. G1 wasn't canceled in '09. Dang, Slime, you're gonna like blow out your vocal cords.
Hope he does.
2010, though, we got sets.
Sets.
A few, literally,
Sets
like-
in quotation marks.
We got the Bionicle stars.
Speaking of the stars, you guys remember this image? I was so hyped
Oh,
when I
yeah.
saw that.
Kind of.
Oh, I remember that. I was like, what? And then I saw the build and I was like, oh.
I remember, I signed up for the Lego Club magazine, and I'd be really excited to get an issue in the mail. I remember there was an ad for the Bionicle stars. It might have been that. I was really hyped because I was like, oh, it's been so long since I've seen that how. I just had a lot of nostalgia for the old sets, especially after 2008, where the forms of the Toa weren't really recognizable as their old selves. So I found just that image of Tahu to be really cool, but then what we actually got was we got Tahu, we got Takanuva, who was still a dark Takanuva. I forget.
Light drained.
Yeah, drained Takanuva. And for some reason we got Gresh.
Because he's the hip new kid on the block, man. Totally radical.
We got a mini Skrull, or mini Tuma, rather, posing as Skrull.
Mighty Duma.
Yeah, the mighty Tuma, not so mighty anymore.
If you guys could have changed up the star lineup at all, what would you have changed? You need to represent the Bionicle franchise and the Bionicle stars with 3 villains and 3 heroes. What do you do?
I honestly think that they did a good job with that.
Nope, I disagree. I think we should have gotten Nuvok instead of Skrull.
I don't know if I agree with that. As much as Skrull is not relevant at all to anything, I think what they were trying to do is represent Bionicle as a whole, and as a whole includes the last year. So while it does seem kind of like a retread, we just got Skrull, we just got this specific piece and 2 other sets last year, why are we getting it again? Well, that is the case, and, that's not the greatest. I don't know, maybe I would have picked another villain from 2009, but I do think that picking a villain from 2009 was a good choice.
I think they needed the Borak in there. It's a shame they never had it.
The build in general, I think they were just not trying to deviate from that. What are they called? The Avmatoran build? Or the Agori build, I guess. That's what it was. It would have been cool to see a Borak. Because, those are incredibly iconic villains for Bionicle. But it would have probably just deviated far too much, or just be too much effort to implement a Borak build. But I did find it interesting that they used a Paraka. What is Nektann? Who is Nektann? I have no idea.
Nektann was a Skeksis warlord. He's mentioned briefly in the story prior to 2010, but he really doesn't make a huge appearance until 2010.
In Vanog with Meso, there were these
The little robot guys. Yeah, the little robot guys called Nektann.
yeah, the little defense turrets, I guess. There were Nektanns.
Yeah.
So I was just really confused.
Nektann was mentioned before Stars, though.
Yeah, he was. He definitely existed before Stars, but that's kind of a shoo-in as far as his first and only appearance in set form. But the little robots were named after him. But for all intents and purposes, all we should know is that there's a Skeksis, his name is Paraka, and that's all we need to know. That's all Lego wants.
That's right.
Yeah.
His name is Paraka.
My favorite Bionicle is Paraka.
They kind of just show up in Bara Magna. Generic Rakshi. There's the generic Sand Rakshi, I guess. I don't know what it is.
Heat Vision. Yeah.
Yep, Heat Vision.
Yeah, it's funny because that's also the first appearance of Heat Vision Rakshi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never had them before?
In set form.
Okay, yeah.
In story form there, all the way back in 2004.
2004.
Yeah, with Metro Nui and stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool that they had a different Rakshi scene in set form, because maybe it's because I'm biased towards Rakshi, but I don't like the Rakshi color palette. It just seems very bland to me for the initial 2003 sets.
The Bionicle stars, it's a nice kind of send-off. There's lots of debate, as to whether or not the stars are, in fact, a good wave. Objectively, they're trash. Like I was saying earlier with Barracks, they have almost no usable parts just because they all snap and break.
That I'm going to actually kind of disagree with you, because I will say that, and this is purely from a very biased kind of personal market perspective, just because of the type of builds I've been building over the past couple of months. I really dig the stars parts. There's a lot of really nice parts.
Okay, I don't say that the parts are bad. I mean, they're bad quality. They snap.
Yeah, the limbs, yes, but I feel like the other
The limbs,
parts that they
the hands,
introduced,
the heads, everything.
but the other parts of the slime, all of the rest of the stuff I find was really...
All the other stuff, that's 3 other parts.
They had the new armor pieces for the golden armor. They had the new gold colors of several more classic pieces. They had the new How piece that was compatible with the new heads. They had Gresh's
The
blades
feet.
in silver, which are super useful. Yeah, the
The
feet.
feet.
The new Gresh armor pieces. The Nuva shoulders in white. They had Kopaka's sword in black. Lots of, I would say, really useful parts. I mean, some of them didn't. Like, I think Nektann's the only one that had no useful parts.
Hey,
Super
it's
interesting parts.
fine.
Is his spine usable? Like, I thought it was just
No.
like
I've
a
used
standard.
it when I was a small child, which,
Well,
barring the rest of it, uses it as kind of like a dragon's head.
that's a cool use of the piece.
That's what I'm saying. I see your point. There are good parts.
Yeah,
Objectively, them as sets, looking at them beyond, it's a good part pack.
Mm-hmm.
And even then it's questionable.
The gold pieces, like that was just purely for the marketing. Collect all the sets and you can get a golden Tahu.
To quote the advertisement, collect the golden Bionicle.
Oh my gosh.
Collect the best of the best from Bionicle.
When we think about new Stars characters, there's not a whole lot of others, like say green characters or black characters they could have put in instead of Skrull or Gresh, I feel. But the other thing about the Golden Stars Tahu, seems like he was just a prelude to what was to come with like Bionicle, you know? And like especially Bionicle Tahu characters. just got
Gold.
more and more involved in
I
there.
get it.
Back in my day, Tahu was red. Not gold. I joined BZ Power when Bionicle ended, just by happen. So like I joined, and I was like, all right, time to get involved. And I look at like the front page on like day 3, and it was like Bionicle canceled. I was like, oh, okay. I was like lurking on BZ Power for like 6 years, and then I finally joined. It got canceled. Did anyone find the Bionicle Stars stayed on the shelves for a while? Because like,
Oh yes.
no, listen to
So
my
much
story. So
so.
I got 5 out of 6 of them in 2010. I was missing Gresh, and then in 2013, I was wandering around a Toys R Us, and I saw Gresh on the shelf, and I was like, I need to get that, and I just bought it. It was 2013, 3 years later.
Was it full price?
Yeah.
Ouch.
No, it was like $3 off, I think.
Okay, that's better. The Stars were iffy for me value-wise, because in Canada Watch they were like $12.
Yeah, they were kind of expensive for the amount of actual pieces that you would get.
No matter what, we got a pretty good set out of 2010, and that was Gaardus. So, you know, Gaardus was great.
Oh.
Gotta love Gaardus.
Was there any like story relevance? It's like it's not canon or anything.
That was the thing. That was Bionicle's send-off, was write a story for this character, backstory, and we'll make it canon. That was the whole contest. I entered in it. I lost.
And fun fact, we actually never got that backstory. So,
No, we did, didn't we?
no, we didn't. No, we didn't.
We didn't?
And let me biosector this. The only thing we know is that he was on the Red Star. That's the only thing.
The story I wrote for him was that he was an alien coming to invade Bara Magna, and I had it all set up like there was going to be another arc. I don't remember where I was or what I was doing when G1 was canceled, but I remember that I heard that Greg was continuing to do the story on BionicleStory.com. That wasn't going to stop. And to me, that was about all I cared about, was just the story, because like, yeah, the sets were cool, but you know, like by that point they were starting to get a little crappy anyway. So I didn't care about them as much, but the story was like, that was what I was like into, man. And then I was like, okay, well, Bionicle Story is still going to be up. I'm going to check it every single day. And so I did. And then they stopped being posted. I remember I checked BionicleStory.com every single day for a solid 6 months without anything being updated. And then it was at that point that I knew Bionicle was dead.
Last night I was curious. I checked the Bionicle forum on Lego.com where like Greg Farshi answers questions. He's still answering questions. Like he answers them yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I know, it's amazing. I really have to hand it to Greg that he is incredible as far as that goes. In regards to the story ending, like I heard in later sources, aka Biosector, I heard that he was going through like a divorce at that time.
Yeah.
And, like all sorts of stuff was going on. So like I totally don't hold it against him for stopping the story, because like he was doing it totally just on his own for the love of the community and all that, not being paid for it, I don't think. So the fact that he had to stop, I totally understand that.
It was fun to talk about Bionicle, this whole Bionicle infinology now. It's just fun discussing the various years that we got. I just really like reminiscing upon the old times, the old sets and stuff.
Yeah.
I will say this episode, out of all of the episodes, has probably been the most nostalgic for me. Just because, like, I remember 06 and I remember 07, and I remember 08, but like 2009 and 2010, like that doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it was. It's just interesting to look back. Just one last point. Comparison. G2 ending versus G1 ending. Which do you think was handled better? I don't think there's a contest, but I'll let you voice your opinions anyway.
The thing about G2 is that it got cut right in the middle of the story, with like one other year.
And like at least in G1 we got like story material and a lot of after stuff as well.
And a send-off wave.
Yeah, at
that
least
was
we got a
kind of
send off.
nostalgic.
Like G2, we got basically nothing. I mean, I don't even consider the end to Journey to 1 really to be like a send off. It was just like, oh crap, the theme is ending. We have to rewrite this to make everything completely convoluted and not make sense, but it's the end because that's how it has to be. That wasn't a send off. That was just like damage control.
I'm sure we'll talk about Bionicle some more.
Can we talk about Bionicle serials as well?
Oh yeah, totally. We can do an episode on the serials. There's also like the Faber files that are interesting. Maybe we could do an episode about them too. That was our pretty long modcast. Hope you enjoyed. And also, I mean, if you are new to this whole thing, we've done several episodes about the other years of Bionicle. If you want to check them out, plug. Goodbye, everyone.
What are you doing down here alone? We're supposed to be at the Coley match? Oh, Takua!